the name of the program is the way to go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. We have a unusual and different program for you today because we're going to be talking about the places to go in this area and the diversity of what is available, so much so that you might say that there is so much available that I don't see why people stay home at all. My guests today are the directors of 3 performing arts centers in the area. From left to right is George Moredock of the Stanford Center for the Arts, Jack Globenfelt of the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, and Christopher Beach of the Performing Arts Center in Purchase. Now, we know that a lot of changes taking place in what you people are offering. And what would you say are the most significant changes that are taking place that are affecting your programming? And I throw this up for any or all of you to respond to.
Well, if you were to read the New York Times recently, you would assume that our audiences were all dying. I believe the Times was front and center with the aging of our audiences, and whereas we don't really have any deaths in our theater, clearly those people who have traditionally supported the arts through subscription are getting older.
So the audiences are aging.
The subscription audience is I believe, clearly
Is that the most significant change that you all find?
I think the change that I find is that the number of people who used to buy subscriptions is reducing dramatically. But happily, the number of single-ticket buying households that we have is increasing more than that. So I think people are being more careful with their dollars and discriminating in what they see. They don't just buy the whole series. They'll buy individual events throughout the year.
I think it's demographics primarily, but it's also economics. With the downsizing of companies and corporations, people are holding back on the discretionary income a little bit.
They're spending less?
They're spending less and less often.
Is that making a significant impact on all 3 of you?
Well, if you don't find more people to spend, it is. But as long as you can find, as Chris says, more single-ticket buyers, then the loss of a subscription dollar is less of an impact.
I think what I know my colleagues well, and I think what we're all doing, however, is we are examining new kinds of programs that will attract broader or more diverse audiences.
Now, it's interesting that and I really invited you 3 to come from all of the people from the performing arts centers who we have spoken to over the past years, is that you're up in Connecticut, you're in Bronx, and you're here in Purchase in Westchester. Are your audiences different?
I think probably if we sat down with a demographic chart, we'd find significant similarities and drastic differences. Probably the core may be very similar, but the outer edges may be.
Are you in competition?
It depends on what event you're presenting. Right. That's the issue. If you're doing similar events, then the audiences are pretty much the same. But we're doing more diverse events, so the audiences are uniquely different than they are in Stanford or in Purchase.
And we're only in competition when the audience is limited. If all 3 of us had
Harry Belafonte.
Well, Al Pacino. On the same night, we would not be in competition. If we had De Niro, Pacino, and Tom Cruise on the same night, there would be no competition, because if the event is correct, there's an audience for it, far beyond our capacities.
So how do you determine that the event is correct?
Well, I think different events are more correct for different venues. The Performing Arts Center is part of Purchase College. Purchase College is New York State's School of the Arts, conservatory programs in music, dance, theater, and visual arts. And so much of the programming that I do springs from that association. We have a full chamber music series, a great many recitals, special events which are classical music, a big classical dance program and ballet and dance. George, I know, is much more heavily into theater programming.
Does your campus support your series, whether it be faculty, staff, students? Yes.
Tons of kids.
At a greatly discounted ticket price?
$5 a ticket.
Yes, a greatly discounted ticket price.
And I give away probably 1,800, 2,000 tickets a year, comps for students. The faculty also come, but not as much as the students.
But Christopher, you talked about classical. You were heavily into classical programming.
Mm-hmm.
You have decreased it considerably.
Dramatically.
How about what you're doing?
Even more dramatically.
You do almost
About half of what we used to do, and considerably less next season.
why?
Risk.
Cost of
Cost of the artists to put it on to advertiser are growing exponentially, and the audience and the prices have not. So we've had to eliminate some programs where you aren't sure, at least breaking even on it.
Classical music artist fees have gone up exponentially.
Are you faced with that same problem?
Yes. I mean, I define classical beyond music. The classic arts to me are dance, classical music, chamber music, recitals. Jazz might very well be considered a classic art. In some respects, theater, certainly classic theater, is a classic art. And in Stanford, there is a decline, partly because of the cost of the product. As we all know, somebody's getting rich. And I'm not certain who it is, but costs are going up dramatically.
But you are still presenting a great deal of classical music because you feel that this is your mandate to do so.
Well,
Is it attracting the audience?
It is attracting the audience. When I started at Purchase, we had a chamber music series of 3 events, one ensemble for 3 performances. Now we have 8 performances of 6 ensembles. The number of classical music special events that we do and the scope of them tends to grow. But I should point out that one reason we do it, and I think one reason we're successful in that particular market, is the halls. We have a recital hall with perfect acoustics. We do 50 recordings a year for Deutsche Grammophon, Sony Classical, that sort of thing. And so I think the few people who are still very much interested in that sort of thing love the hall. George has a spectacular
Place for theater.
Place for
That's
plays.
exactly true.
And
So the theater plays a very big role in what you're doing. But if you could afford to put on more classical performances, could you attract the audiences? And you are doing it and attracting the audiences. Why the difference? Because the audiences are basically the same.
Well, in the case of Purchase and Stanford Center for the Arts, we do draw from the same audience far more than we do from the Bronx, or the Bronx does from Fairfield and lower Westchester counties. Right. So in one respect, the duplication of product at Purchase and the Palace Theater is a drain on what Chris calls perhaps a limited audience, not a wide appeal audience. So it would probably be suicidal for Chris to do 8 plays or for me to do 8 chamber music. Whether we should either of us do a little more than we do, certainly a greater expert than us could tell us.
You mentioned the fact that you've got the 4 theaters, you've got 2 theaters, you've got 3 theaters. The physical appearance of the place that you are, how important is that to whatever you're doing? Do people feel comfortable in coming to a place? We talk about comfort. George, we've talked about this subject before. You do not want Stanford Center to be off-putting. You dress casually. You wear your tie loosely. You wear your hair tied back. And you're there at the theater visibly doing that all the time. That's an image because the rich form is so elegant looking.
Well,
is that important?
It's important for the audience to know that what they're doing is fun. I go to an opera, and there is an aura of elegance, and somehow those operas where it's sung in English, perhaps there's a different feel. I'm not suggesting that one is more important than the other, but what I'm trying to convey to the Fairfield and Westchester audiences is that it's fun to come to the theater like it is to go to the movies. You don't if you choose to dress up on a Saturday night, we've got the programming and you've got the program. But if you choose to dress down on Friday night, we've got the place to come for that too, as do you.
George talks about the operas in English. Actually, it's that very reason, that welcoming, accessible nature of the performances, that chose me to program Gilbert and Sullivan each year.
That's right.
Because I knew that it was something that could attract not only those audiences who love the classical music, but the grandmothers with their grandchildren, and a full crossover audience.
Jack, we talked about the aging audience and the changing audience that's taking place certainly at Lehman. How does the physical setup? Certainly the parking is convenient, adequate. The beautiful theater, huge theater. Maybe that's one of the big problems. Too huge. Does your programming, does your theater establish an aura that people are comfortable in?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very casual environment.
Yeah.
It's not opulent or elegant, but it's worthwhile.
How huge is huge?
Well, it's 2,310 seats
Big
with
enough.
12 wheelchairs. On some occasions, it's not big enough. On most occasions, it's too big.
Okay.
The problem is the artist fee. The size of the hall makes very little difference in most instances. What you pay an artist. Certain artists make a certain amount, whether you've got 1,100 seats, you've got 2,300 seats.
West Point at 4,000 seats. Carnegie Hall at 2,800 will pay the same fee for an artist that we pay at 1,500, 1,300, or 2,300 seats.
Of course, being in the Bronx, you've done a lot of programming which is ethnic.
Yeah, diverse.
Diverse. Is it working?
Oh, absolutely, and we find that true. This past season, what worked best for us were programs that were very targeted at a unique and different audience than these gentlemen in downtown programs do. So we find that we have Albanian concerts that sell out. We have Indian concerts that sell out. We have certainly Hispanic concerts that sell out. We find that the dance companies that are ethnic-oriented are the ones that do well. The classical ones do less well. The ones that have a New York season downtown, it's hard to get an audience to come at all. If they're played at the Joyce or they have they're a New York-based company, it's almost impossible to get an audience to come to see them.
And we found the same thing.
New York proximity, Manhattan proximity, does that hurt you?
Now I'm starting to hear a balance. This is interesting because the New York companies, Ailey, Dance Theater of Harlem, Elliott Feld, will sell out before the brochures dry. It's interesting.
Not Ailey, yes, but not the others.
Interesting.
I think Ailey is a unique company amongst all classical events. I think Ailey is unique.
Yeah.
It's a huge crossover audience. It's a huge ethnic audience. It's a relatively reasonable fee. We are both presenting Ailey in the same time frame, probably against both of our better judgments, but circumstances.
But you'll sell out, and I'll sell out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're back to what you said before, which is that if you have a prime attraction, you're going to sell
That's
out.
right.
And if you can afford to have a prime attraction, you're going to sell out. Or if you have a niche marketed something that is to a specific audience, you're going to do very, very well with it. And how does that affect your programming? You have to, of course, project far into the future to book people, to make your plans, and so on. And all these trends are taking place. How can you anticipate these trends?
I think we all have a balance. Certainly, all of us must program some events that we know are going to be great. We're not sure they're going to sell any tickets, but they're going to be so great, we want to make sure that our core audience has an opportunity to see them. And some other events we'll program that we're specifically programming to make money. I have Evelyn Glennie. I don't know if you saw the paper, but I have Evelyn Glennie, a deaf Scottish percussionist, doing a one-woman recital, a percussion recital. The whole stage is filled with percussion instruments on March 31st. And great reviews in the Times, People magazine, all that sort of thing. And our advance sale is very, very small. Something that I was committed to doing, and yet we'll do other major dance companies year after year.
You mentioned a term, and I want to get back to that in a moment. But first, I do want to remind our audience that we're talking about changing audiences in the performing arts centers, and my guests today are the directors of the 3 performing arts centers in this area, who is George Moredock of the Stanford Center for the Arts, and Jack Globenfelt of the Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, and Christopher Beach for the Performing Arts Center at Purchase. You mentioned our core audience. How do you define your core audiences? Or you use the term, what's your core audience?
Repeat ticket buyers and donors. There's the core, and then there's the core, and then there's the core. Those are the ones who subscribe and buy single tickets and contribute.
They're like the foundation on which everything is built.
Right.
Do you have the same definition?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you find, George, the same thing?
Sure.
Do you find that the core audience changes? We're coming in the age of the maturing baby boomers.
I think the core audience may be the aging audience. Those that subscribe and donate. We're pursuing a new path, which is to create a club of non-subscribers, because we do see, as Chris mentioned, and I think Jack did too, an increase in single ticket buyers who are generally not donors. Historically, there's a lack of ownership, what we call in our place ownership, which is a feeling of belonging, a feeling of owning part of the building. And we are targeting various age groups into various club situations from the single ticket buying audience, which is generally, at least in Stanford, younger. I don't know if you find that your single ticket buyers are generally younger than your subscribers. Yep. They have less discretionary income. They are more selective in their buying habits. So, but the core, I think, is aging. I mean, what Danny Newman called the lifeblood of the theater is aging, I think.
And not being replaced?
Not by subscribers that we find. I mean, we're aiming a lot of our attempts at the single ticket buying market, trying to create, instead of 20,000 multi-ticket buyers, I'd just as soon have 50,000 buyers once, because then maybe next year there'll be multi-ticket buyers.
And in a certain to a certain extent, the increase in single ticket buyers over and above the decrease in subscribers is a compliment to us, because every single person is saying, I specifically want to attend this performance. I'm not just coming because it's included, but rather I've chosen to come to this. And as long as those single ticket buyers are more than replacing your subscribers, then in a sense you've got proof that you're doing a good job.
How do you reach the single ticket buyers? You've all talked about that. I know you all do extensive brochures.
Expensively.
Extensive and expensive.
I like to call them personally at home each night just to see what they're doing.
So how do you do it? I mean, how do you reach out? When you say expensively, you're talking about advertising in all media?
You have to understand something about what all of us do. It's much more expensive for us to sell a ticket than it is for the Metropolitan Museum, Carnegie Hall, Playwrights Horizons, because they all sell one thing. They sell modern art or classical music or contemporary plays. All of us, because of our multiple venues, sell. There's some people, you've got different audiences within each of these centers.
Well, particularly if it's ethnic programming.
Right.
It just occurs to me, if you're programming to you're not going to program 2 events to the same audience in some cases.
Correct.
You can't block book your marketing strategies. If you're talking Hispanic and Asian, for instance.
That's true. That's true. Well, sometimes we do on direct mail pieces or ads, but basically every event is freestanding.
Yeah.
We did an event a couple years ago, Mary Black, an Irish folk singer, and the fee was reasonable. The advertising cost was extremely reasonable, and the attendance was outstanding.
So we need 100 of those, right?
Well, yeah, we're trying to.
Well, what's the formula that worked there? Was it the appeal of the
artist?
The artist
To a specific group that's easy to reach.
When I have an audience that'll come to Spalding Gray, Penn and Teller, Ladysmith, Black Mambazo, they're not going to come to Kathleen Battle, Les Arts Florissants, or something like that. So the reason I say it's expensive is because you can't send these people the thing that will be attractive to these people, so you've got to send 2 things. A challenge for all of us.
I hear so many people say in your field, that we don't get the support of the community. Does the community owe you anything in support? Do you feel that the community should be supporting the arts by coming to what you have to offer, or are you selling a commodity and support has nothing to do with it?
When I was with a now defunct ballet company, don't worry, I didn't dance. A great strong supporter said, just because you do good work does not give you the right to exist. I was horribly offended at that at the time because I was the person who was ceasing to exist. But he had a great wisdom. No, the community owes us nothing. We owe the community everything because without them, we don't exist. If we don't give them what they want at the price they can afford, at a time that they want to attend, and in the environment that makes them happy, they're not going to come. And the fact that Kathleen Battle sang well that night doesn't mean a hill of beans.
And so support is not a term that you think about at all. We talk about your core
we think about
audience.
it, but you said some people you talk to say that the community is not supporting them as well. Actually, we don't find that at Purchase. In fact, the community support is growing, and growing substantially, in part because...
Excuse me, Christopher, it was my term. What do you mean by support? It was my term. So
contributions.
I wasn't talking about...
We're talking about attendance, weren't you?
I'm talking about attendance.
Oh, well, the attendance is going up too.
But not out of an obligation.
Not out of an obligation.
No.
I mean, we would all love to think that we were as important as the Daily Mail and the police service, I think. And in some respects, I'm certain you could make a case that we are that important. But the truth of the matter is we're luxury. And should be viewed as something essential to daily life, yes, but dispensable before you dispense with your milk, certainly.
What are you doing to convey that? What are you doing to convey the fact that you're a luxury, that you're available, that you have the most desirable things? You talk about advertising, brochures, pinpointed niche marketing, and all the things that you're doing. What are you doing in these changing times to convey exactly what you're doing in that direction? Is there something different that you people are doing?
Do good work well.
But that's not enough.
No, that is enough, because most of us either don't do good work or we take a good work and I say most of us, and the present company is absolutely excluded, most of them either don't do good work or don't do it well, and that's a turnoff. If Kathleen Battle doesn't sing on key, we've had performers who didn't have a great evening. Man, our box office hears about it. I don't know if that's true with you.
Absolutely.
But if so-and-so was sick that night and the understudy played, or if the ballerina fell down, or if the great violinist was off a little bit, I hear about it, and those people let me know. Yes.
Word of mouth.
Yes.
I'll tell you one
Absolutely.
thing we're doing. Once a month, I go out and our volunteers will arrange a coffee. We call them coffees. I'll have coffee and dessert after dinner at one of our patrons' houses, and they'll invite 20 or 30 of their friends and neighbors over, and we'll just talk about programming. What are you interested in seeing? Mm-hmm. Now, they're small groups, and so it's a lot of time and effort to do it. But when you do one a month, at the end of the year, you've met a good cross-section of people. And quite frankly, some of the programming at Purchase that's been successful was my idea. But some of it was their idea.
But even more than that, that's like the politician who shakes hands because people had a close-up relationship with that individual instead of a name off in the distance. That if you meet with 10 people, then they're going to talk to 10 people, and they're going to talk to 10 people, and they have a warm feeling about you. So that really does multiply. Even though it's a small group, it does reach out. As we've discussed here, you have to do something good. Word of mouth is very, very important, and people have to feel comfortable. We've talked about that. People have to feel comfortable with going there. I know that you all establish a presence in the lobby. People can see you and talk to you and know you. I know people who refer to you by your first name because they have that feeling. I've heard that all the time. You're always there. I always see you there.
And no one knows my last name, so that's...
You should know that one of the Performing Arts Center greatest assets is these other two centers, because when they do quality work, it helps purchase.
It's nothing better than competition. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Because when people, they'll go to a dance event, and then the next time it will be sold out, and they'll really want to go somewhere, they'll look, if they've gone to Stamford, they'll look at Lehman or they'll look at Purchase.
Yeah, half of our audience comes from Lower Westchester,
Yes.
and the other half comes basically from the Bronx,
Right.
Upper Bronx. A core subscription audience, if you will.
Isn't it incredible? Maybe you're too close to it, the three of you are. Isn't it incredible that in this very small area that you people represent, that so many wonderful things are available? I mean, think about it, and you only represent 3 of the performing arts centers. There are so many others in this area that so much is available.
However, I think what are the total number of events that take place in your theaters in a year?
Evenings of performance?
Evenings of performance.
150.
Yeah, about the same.
And we've got about 350. That's a lot of theater, music, and dance that's going on there. A great deal.
And
there are companies,
many other
companies that make their home.
far more narrow, targeted theater groups, classical, Caramore, not to mention Broadway, clearly, and the Joyce Theater,
Hamlin, which does so much, and
yes.
Paramount, of course, and there are so many things that are going on that are available to people. It's just astounding that there is so much that people can enjoy and can use, and I suppose the answer is that partake of it. And there's certainly, aside from your mailings, aside from the contacts that you have, you pick up the Times on Sunday or the weekend in the Gannett papers, and they're listing so many things to do.
Sure.
It's just great
And
that
there's
it's
a new
available.
competition, clubs. At least there's a new
There's a lot of
competition in
that.
Fairfield County. Clubs, the under 400 seats with a bar that are doing alternative
Well,
music,
that's
that
a
are
sign of
drawing the
what-
21 to 31-year-old crowd.
That's a sign of what Cabaret has done.
That's
Well,
right.
one of the things that we have done is run out of time, and I thank you all for coming, and this has been a most enlightening and really rewarding program. We've been talking about the changing audiences in the performing arts centers in this area, and we've had the directors today of the Stamford Center for the Performing Arts and Lehman Center and the Performing Arts Center at Purchase. It's been a great, interesting program. Go out, enjoy yourself all the time. I'm Norman Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. Until next time, have a good time.